Hello, and welcome to Amazing Jessy Show. Today is Friday, and is also the last day of Amazing Jessy Summer Flash for this week. And I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching my interviews over the course of the week, because I can tell you, it was such an amazing experience. Looking back, it was just so amazing. And I just want to thank all my viewers for, watching, commenting, sharing, just taking time out of your precious day just to watch one of my interviews. I thank you so, so much. I appreciate it so much. Looking over the week, I'm just amazed of the wonderful experience I've had, like on Monday, where I had the interview with Lady Uche Kachi. Wow, she was such an amazing lady, and I just loved interviewing her. She's the daughter of our Bishop Mike and Bishop Peace Konko, and I had such an amazing time interviewing her, and I'm so grateful that she was able to come on my show. And then on Wednesday, when I had some of my friends, my Christian born again friends, they are teenagers, they are girls, and then they are Christians, and they were just sharing their experiences, being all of those things. And I had an amazing experience interviewing them as well. And then today, we have started with a blast, and I can tell you we are going to end with a blast. Today, I have a very, very special guest. And as you guys know, my topic for this week has been how who you are changes what you do. So today I have a very, very, very special guest. I can't wait for you guys to meet her. I'm not going to say much about her, but because she's going to show you how amazing she is herself. Please, can we welcome Cllr Yemi Adenuga? Woo!
Hello, Jessy. Amazing.
Hello.
Jessy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for hosting me. I'm delighted to be your guest.
No problem. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on my show. Good evening. You look, I can say, radiant this evening. You look amazing.
Thank you. I try. It's been a long day. I have to say I'm a bit tired, but thank you. That was a lovely thing to say. And you look absolutely beautiful yourself.
Thank you very much. I just want to say I appreciate you taking out your precious time to come on my show and do an interview with me. I'm very, very excited, and I'm just very, very honored.
Thank you. And I am honored to be your guest on your show. It's interesting when a host gets hosted by another host. Isn't that just wonderful? And your bubbly, very lively self in it, that alone is enough reason to be here, to be excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Before we start, I know you're a very interesting person, and we want to get to know a little bit more about you. So could you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, it depends on what you want to know. I'm a woman who wears many caps at different times, and people have told me that I wear them very well. And at first, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of four. I've got two girls. My first girl is married now. She's made me a grandmother, so they call me Glamma, right?
And you look very young.
I know, right? Thank you. I take that as a compliment. And I have two girls and two boys, and I'm a child of God. I'm a Christian, and I believe that I am really blessed to know God and to have known God at a young age and to have grown up knowing God. And I mean, that really has been a thing that has guided me in my life. I'm a people person. When people ask me, what do you do? I say, I build people. I've always loved working with people. And I suppose it's because of my background, where I grew up, where I came from, the things I experienced as a young girl shaped the decisions I made as I grew up, to do whatever I can at any time and wherever I find myself, to ensure that other people, especially young girls, that they get an opportunity in life to be whoever they want to be positively. I mean, like, I came from a background. I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm what you would call Afro-Irish now. And I'm originally from Nigeria. And I came from a background where my father had 7 wives and 27 children. So a lot of people who have been followers would know my story. And I'm number 16 in the household. And my mother, who was the last wife, had only 6 girls, and there were 6 girls of her own who were biological daughters. And she raised 4 other girls from my stepmom. And so she raised 10 girls. And some members of my father's family didn't give us any chance. They said because we were girls, we were going to end up on the streets as prostitutes, that that's all we were good for. And so I made a decision at a very young age of 13 that I was not going to end up on the streets, and my sisters were not going to end up on the streets. And I made my mother promise that night, when she had cried so hard, just being saddened by what family members had said. I told her, Mom, my sisters and I are going to work so hard that my uncles will wish their boys were girls. And my sisters and I are going to work so hard and make you so proud that those boys of my uncles and aunties will wish they were your daughters. And today the rest is history. So my background has really informed a lot of the things that I do. My values, I learned to build values very early in life. And those values shape the way I carry myself, the way I walk, the way I walk, and the way I interact with people. Those values guide and shape me. I was a girl who I found out later as I grew older that I was good at many things, but nobody really told me what I could focus on or what I was good at. And I suppose knowing that about myself subsequently was one of the reasons why I decided to work with young people, to help them decide early in life what they would like to do with themselves, what they're good at, what they already are doing, and what could become an income stream for them, even as young people. You know, I always encourage people, don't have one income stream. You could have more than one, because if one door shuts, another has to open automatically.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why because of my values and my experience in life, they're the reasons why I do most of the things that I do. As you know, I'm a county councillor in the Republic of Ireland. I'm a local representative. I ran in the local elections last year and thank God won a seat. And now I represent Navan Municipal District in Meath County Council. I also run a number of businesses myself for my own work. And I run a not-for-profit. It's called She Rose Global, like heroes, but the female version, She Rose. And we run several projects within Shiro's Global, one of which is a Shiro's Girls Club, where we encourage our girls to build their confidence and find the self-esteem and not allow any boy to tell them that they need makeup to look beautiful. Or when anybody says to them, oh, you're not pretty, you tell them, well, I was born beautiful from right in here, you know, show them where confidence comes from. It's not in the physical, it's not just in the outside. If you wear makeup, it's a choice, you know. But it's not the only thing, or it's not the main thing that makes you beautiful. What makes you beautiful comes from here, and helping the girls discover that. The opposite project of that is our flagship project, which we call the Shiro's Boys to Men project. And that project is focused on raising boys to be good men. You know, when I was growing up, my mother taught me how to be a good wife, to be a good sister, to be a good woman, to look after the children, know how to cook. My mother used to tell myself and my sisters, you know, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. If you don't know how to cook, another man will take your husband. I'm sure your mom has probably said that to you before.
Yes, definitely.
African mothers, right? But the boys, nobody was really focusing on the boys or telling the boys that they have to respect girls or that they have to respect when a girl says no. You know, we weren't focusing, parents weren't focusing on that. Instead, when the girls were doing the chores, the boys were playing football and the boys always had a free pass. And that's why you have a high level of domestic violence, because the boys weren't taught how to appreciate the value a woman brings to a relationship. So what that project does is we ask mentors, men in communities, to stand up and become mentors for boys in their communities. Boys who are without the physical presence of a father, or boys whose fathers are present physically but are emotionally absent, you know? So to support those boys, teach them how to express emotions. It's okay for a boy to cry. Unfortunately, we've told our boys, don't cry. Boys don't cry. And so they don't know how to express emotions. They internalize it. And when they become older, they get really angry, they get aggressive, and they take it out on their wives or their daughters or their girlfriends. And some even kill them. So that's what that project does. As a matter of fact, we have a conference tomorrow online in the morning at 11. And the theme of that conference for the Boys to Men is the Boys to Men conference. The theme is the role of men in mentoring boys to be good men. So that's that project. And other projects that we run will be for empowerment, for leadership with women, and our award ceremony, and the Exploring Options project, where we help young people like yourself, my darling, think of what they want to do as young people. As they grow older, before they become adults, they already know what they would love to do, what they're doing already, how they can make money from what they're good at, the talents, the gifts they have, how not to waste it, but to begin to make money from it or to bless people with it, you know. And then when you get to choose what course you want to study, if you're going to university, you have a clarity by the time you get to third year what subjects you want to pick. And if you're not that academic minded, you will not feel ashamed to do a vocational training, but become a guru in what you're going to train at. So I'm going to keep quiet there and let you ask another question.
No,
Otherwise, I can go on.
I was totally interested in everything you were saying. Wow, you're a very interesting person, I can tell you. And I think it's very important as Christians or as people not to take what people say about us and let it run our lives. I think it's very amazing how you didn't let any men tell you that you end up in the streets, and you became who you knew you could become. And I think that's very, very amazing. And I think you're an inspiration to not just all women, but all people in the world. That's
You're so kind.
thing. And I don't know, it's just an amazing life story. And thank you for sharing all of that. So everybody take note with the meeting tomorrow, because I think that we can all learn something from this amazing woman right here that we're looking at. So thank you very, very much for sharing all of that wonderful things. So as you said, you are a mother, you are a counselor, and well, I've just learned that now that you are an inspirational speaker. And from one inspirational speaker to hear another one, it is truly amazing. So I'm just wondering, how has this whole coronavirus thing, how has it been for you as a mother and as a counselor? How has the whole thing been?
Well, I'll tell you honestly, when it first hit and Ireland was making arrangements for phases, the phasing of the corona, initially before the phasing, we just went into a lockdown. And everyone went into a panic and thought, oh my God, our lives are ending. How are we going to manage this? And I, for one, thought, well, at least I'm going to get a bit of rest from doing council work since everyone will be at home. But, it got even more, it got busier. It's a time when I thought, oh, yes, I'll be able to rest. But it got even busier because it was a time when I discovered that a lot of people are actually very lonely. The good part of the first month of lockdown for me as a counselor, most of my hours were spent talking to people on the phone, people who will call me up and want to talk and want to chat. And I realized from that a lot of people are so lonely. And so I found myself connecting to people and just being a listening ear. I run a training academy. It's called MIB, Motivate, Inspire, Build. That's what MIB means. And it's an academy where we teach soft skills like confidence building, self-esteem, building a personal brand, as managing stress, managing time, well-being, all of those bits, right? And one of the things that we always talk about in the training program is that you have to know who you are. You have to know yourself as a person. And I discovered during the lockdown that a lot of people had no self-definition. They didn't know they were moving about like, that phrase they say, like headless chickens,
Yeah.
and like a headless chicken. Through no fault of theirs, because they weren't raised to self-define. And I found myself helping people to look inwards and find themselves and define themselves rather than allowing the world to define them. Unfortunately, one of the downsides of social media is that people get influenced sometimes negatively, and they really don't have a self-identity. They see one person doing one stuff and they think it's great. They do a little bit of that. They see another doing something else. They do a little bit of that. And then they're a little bit of everything, but nothing concrete of themselves. So I worked with a lot of people in that regard through the lockdown. As a mom, it was very challenging because I worried about my children. I worried about my kids who weren't at home with me, my daughter and her family who live about almost an hour away from myself, my other daughter who was in college and who still had to go to college a few times before the final lockdown. I worried about her, my boys as well, who were at home and couldn't go out when the lockdown started. These are boys that have a lot of energy and need a place to,
Yeah.
to just explore. But they were in the house, so there was a lot of worry. And of course, for family members that I have outside, my husband as well, for his health. He's diabetic, and they talk about people who have underlying conditions, what's going to happen if they contract it. So, but in the midst of all that worry, I think it was one of the times in my life where I got the biggest reassurance that God's got us all. No matter how much I worry, He's got us, and there's nothing I can do about it. He only has the solution. All I have to do is just appreciate the gift of life and do what I'm required to do. Follow instructions by the government, follow the health service, and just wash my hands, stay safe, stay clean. Now we're required to wear face mask when we go out, do all that bit, and leave the rest to God. So, I mean, for me, that reassurance came even more during the lockdown. And I learned a lot of new skills during the lockdown.
Like
And
what?
that one of the best parts is here we are on Zoom speaking to the world. You didn't have to come to me. I didn't have to come to you.
Definitely.
All thanks to Corona. I mean, who would have thought a couple of months ago, who would have thought that the world would be doing something like this? So there's a positive to it. And I've always encouraged people since this happened, don't just focus on the negative, focus on the positive. What have you learned from this? A number of people, I've organized a few seminars, and I've said to people, and we've had conversations around the positives from Corona, and I've said, how much have you saved? Ask yourself really, how much have you saved in terms of money since the pandemic started? A lot of people have had birthday parties, but they've not thrown a huge birthday party that they would have spent a lot of money on. And now we hear the phrase, I'm having a Zoom party,
Yeah.
that saves you a lot of money. Even people are having Zoom burials. They don't have to fly all the way to go to a funeral. They can join the family on Zoom and attend the funeral and still bury a family member respectfully. So there's so much that has been learned. Yes, unfortunately, we've lost so many lives. Um, it's sad, and my heart goes out to the families of those who've lost family members or friends and loved ones. I really still pray always that God will console and comfort them. At the same time, there's so much we've learned from this. There's a lot of good, even in the bad, and we need to start focusing on the good so that we can begin to progress. We can begin to look at ways to use that good for the betterment of humanity when we eventually step out of this, for us to be ready to even do more than we've done before the pandemic. So for me, and in a way as well, I have been able to connect to more people. I've met a lot of people, through conferences and seminars that I've been invited to. I've started collaborating with a lot of people that ordinarily perhaps it would have taken longer for me to meet. So yes, it's not all been bad. It's been
Yeah.
good and bad at the same time.
Well, I totally agree with what you said about, finding something good in this whole situation that people see as something terrible. I
Mm.
know that when we went into lockdown, I think it's good that people actually started thinking of ways we can still do things we would have done if this whole thing didn't happen. We didn't just say, oh, we're just going to stay inside and wait until all this is over. No, we actually started thinking, and I think people became better people. People learned more things. So
Mhm.
I think the lockdown, even though it did have a lot of negative sides to it did bring out a lot of good in the people. So I think you're very right about that. And I think you're also right about we need, some people were very, very lonely during this whole lockdown
Mhm.
period, and they did need someone to listen to them, someone to help them find out who they are and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so I think that's very, very important in this whole situation. And sometimes we don't understand that people might have been going through these kind of things during this lockdown. We just think that, oh, I need about my job, I need about safety, because people are actually going through things that none of us would actually think about. So I think it's very
Mhm.
good that we need that. I think it's very good that you have found a way to connect with people
Yeah.
and guide them and all this stuff. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Also, you were talking about how you ran for the election last year,
Mm.
and thank God you got a seat. And could you explain to us how was that whole process, the election, that the campaign, the whole thing? How did you feel when you know you were finally elected? How was the whole thing?
Well, I will start from the back. How did I feel when I was elected? Elated, over the moon, and very thankful to God, because I believe that it was an opportunity that was given that I would never take for granted. So I was really, really delighted, not specifically for myself, but for the thousands of people who were looking up to that winning, uh, as for a statement. And I find a lot of people saying to me now, since then, and even now, saying, do you know what? Your winning has told us that we are possible, that we can actually be whoever we want to be, that we can actually make a difference in this country. And we can do what we want to do so long as we decide it, stay on the path, build on it, you know, and then
Yeah.
step out boldly. You have to step in to be a part of it. If you're not stepping in, you're not a part of anything. And I think that representation is key. I get very giddy when young Black girls send me messages or call me and say, Auntie Yemi, thank you so much for even stepping out in the first place to run in the elections. Because now, if you, a grandmother, can win an election in Ireland, then we have no excuse not to be able to do even
Yeah.
bigger things. And that for me is the story. That is the story of hope, the story of representation, the story of possibilities, and telling anybody who really wants to do something for themselves, telling them that they can do it. They can do it. The only thing that's stopping them is them. You know, will there be obstacles? Of course. I had loads of obstacles. I had people who were racist to me at the doorsteps, and people who were saying to me, oh, so do you think you're intelligent enough to run? You know, and that's enough to knock anybody. And I stood there looking at the person, and my answer straight up was, well, we will see at the vote and after the count if people think I'm intelligent enough to run. And of course, when we got the seat, I am still looking for that man. I haven't seen him since then. To say to him, hello, people actually thought I was intelligent to run. Any words, any final words now? You know, those kind of things can knock you. I had somebody ask me if I thought I was now Irish because I was running in the local elections. And I said to him, well, you see, this is the local elections. You actually don't have to be Irish to run in the local elections. But by the way, I am Irish, just so you know. And I am running in the local elections. And I had people say to me, you're coming to take you, it's not enough that you're taking our jobs. Now you want to take the positions in our politics. I mean, this kind of things can knock a person, and one can kind of step back and say, I'm not, I know they do again, you know, like we say in Niger, I'm not interested anymore. But you know, rather than knock me, it actually fueled my determination. It fueled me to want to actually do more and to win. I had to work 10 times more than the regular candidate at elections because I had several strikes against me. I mean, here I was, a woman. Another strike was that I was a Black woman. Another strike was that I was a Black woman who had an accent. So I don't speak to your regular Irish person. But what's the bottom line really? The bottom line is that I say something, you understand what I'm saying. There's always a context to a conversation. If you follow the context, no matter how a word is pronounced, you will know what the person is saying. And so for the kind of people who get a bit cheeky sometimes, I always say to them, come on, you're better than that. You are way better than that. Here's the thing, my dear friend. Somebody who once said to me, oh, your English is so good for a Black girl. And that, of course, is a backhanded comment, you know? And I said, you know what? Your English isn't bad either. And I could see him turn red, you know? So
Yes.
he could dish it, but he couldn't take it. And another thing is when people say to me, oh, you speak so well. And I always say, well, and they're trying to correct me. They're trying to correct the words. And I remember telling one person, even recently, I said to somebody, what other language do you speak? And he said, what do you mean? I said, no, what other language do you speak? And so, well, I speak English, I know, but what other language do you speak? And the person said, well, I only speak English. I said, well, you see, I speak two languages fluently. My local language, where I come from, originally in Nigeria, and English. And so I took time to learn to speak English. You don't even know a single word in my language. So don't try to correct me. Don't try it, you know? And so those are the kind of things that can knock somebody off. But I didn't let that. And I'm saying this to anybody who is watching. When you're doing something big, something good, something that you're expecting result, don't think it will be smooth sailing. If you think for 1 minute that it will be smooth sailing, you are already on the path of failure. Expect challenges. Expect people who will shock you by their actions, even people who are close to you. You might be surprised. You will think, oh, you've got all the support in the world. But for one reason or the other, they might just feel, why are you doing this? So prepare yourself. Now, if you're not so prepared, or you're prepared, but you still something happens still, and then it impacts you, that's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to feel unhappy about something, but allow that feeling, let it flow, dust yourself back up, and then the best revenge is success. Don't get into an argument with people about what they did. No, 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 no. Just go and win. That's the best punishment for anybody who comes against you. Go and win and go and succeed. And then there's nothing else for them to say. Why? Because you have succeeded. So challenges will come, like I got to the elections. But let them be the stepping stone to you working harder and doing better and doing more than the average person. And thank God the rest is history today. We won the seat, and I'm looking forward to having more migrants in politics in Ireland. I really am looking. There are a number of people that I'm mentoring already, that I'm grooming, who are interested in politics, and I'm mentoring them, getting them ready for the next elections. So if you're interested, I will be delighted to mentor anybody who is watching. I'll be delighted.
Well, I would say this is the total definition of your haters are your motivators, and you shouldn't let them,
absolutely,
what they say, stop you. So I think that is so true about what you're saying. And I know you said you're the counselor now, and you do a lot of inspirational stuff to help people. But when did you decide, oh, I'm going to be this person to change people's lives? And why did you decide to do that? Because you have the whole Cheryl thing and the whole thing when you just so inspirational. When did you decide, I want to be that person that changed people's lives?
Well, like I'd mentioned to you at the beginning of the show, it was from when I was 13 that I made a decision that I wasn't going to let anybody define my life. And that and as I grew older, I decided that if I get the opportunity, if I ever get the opportunity in life to help other people, I will certainly do it, especially girls, because there's so many girls who have potentials but don't have opportunity, and maybe don't even have the resources to become really. So I made the first decision when I was 13, when my father's family, members of my father's family had said, you're going to end up on the street as a prostitute. And I said, never, ever, ever, ever. If it's the last thing in the world, I would rather die. And then when I started working back in Nigeria, and I realized that I had spent a good part of my life doing stuff I had no business doing, studying courses I had no business studying, because nobody guided me. People said, oh, you're an A student, you're so good at so many things. But nobody was telling me this is what you should focus on, this is what you should face. Nobody was helping me do that. And I said, I'm not going to let that happen to other girls. I would spend part of my time helping them avoid what I went through. I would guide them and I would show them how to focus early enough in life so that they don't waste as much time as I did, and they can become quicker than I did. So that's when I made those decisions. And that's why I do them. And it's simply to show people, whether the haters or the people who have been hated, to show them that nobody has authority over your life. Nobody has the pen to your life except you give it to them. Nobody should be writing the story of your life except you give them the pen to do so. Our lives are like a storyboard. You should ask yourself the question, who is writing the story of your life? If you allow anybody to take control of your life, they're the ones writing the story. So if anybody has been writing your story wrongly, it's time for you to take that pen back and say, I am the story writer, I'm the storyteller here, and I'm going to write the story the way I want it. If it's been written wrongly, I'm going to erase it and write it better or amend it and ensure that the end of that story is a beautiful finish. So it's up to us. That's why I decided to do this, and I've been doing it. And for me, it's like riding a bike, something I do in my sleep, because I don't want to see other people go through what I went through.
Yeah, and you were saying about how there's so many girls around the world and people who have the potential, but then they never had the opportunity. So I think it's great that they have someone who can see the potential in them and give them that opportunity to change their life. And I think that's very amazing. And I'd say since that day you made that decision, your life has become something you own and you changed your life. So
Absolutely. I didn't even know. I didn't know the magnitude of what I was getting into. That's the honest truth. I didn't realize what it was going to become. I just wanted to be able to help somebody else. And I mean, today I mentor thousands of young girls across different countries of the world. I run a mentorship program called the YAMAL program. It's Yemi, Adenuga Motivation and Leadership Program. I'm sorry, Yemi Adenuga Mentorship and Leadership Program. So it's the YAMAL program. And anybody who comes to me and says, I want you to mentor me, I said, register for that program so that you will know exactly what I'm helping you with. You know, it's not fluffy. It's real stuff that once you start, you finish well, you know. And it's the testimonials have just been incredible. It's a total holistic mentorship program.
That's just great. How can you say, like, because there's obviously been a clear change, but how can you say your life has changed since maybe you became the counselor, since you started this all this inspirational work? How can you say your life has changed?
Well, the inspirational work I have been doing before I became a counselor, it's perhaps one of the reasons why the party that asked me to join, Finnegan asked me to join the party and run for the party in the local elections. So those things have been going on already. But becoming a counselor, has my life changed? My life is no longer my own. Yes, I was a public figure before, but even more so now, because um, people look up to me the more. People have an expectation. People don't just see Yemi, the motivational speaker, or Yemi, the trainer, or Yemi, the mentor, or the counselor, or the personal and development strategist. They don't just see that, or the executive coach. They see Yemi, the counselor, the politician, the public figure. And so that also carries with it some level of responsibility. So my life is no longer my own. It's not easy. You have to be mindful of what you say, how you say it, when you say it, where you say it, who you're saying it to. Not that I would have worried about what I said in times past. No, I'm somebody who always thinks positive, says positive. Yes, people upset me, but I try to, I handle those kind of things with an attitude that doesn't want to revenge, but an attitude that wants to be able to allow myself to sleep well at night. You know, I don't want to go to bed thinking, oh my God, what did I do today? So that in itself, for me, it's initially was a challenge. I'll be honest with you, it was a challenge. Like, how can I just keep the press off my back? How can I not be the poster child for a specific thing? You know, but the reality is, people look up to me. People do look up to me, and I have to live up to that. I didn't choose it, but it comes with a job. And so I have to face that reality. And this is also saying to people, if you're going into something that is going to put you out there, you will have a level of responsibility and expectation of you. So be prepared for it. Look, it's not a big deal if you're afraid, that's fine, but do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, that's how gurus are made. It's there. Gurus get afraid. Sometimes they have butterflies in their stomach, but they go on the stage, they get up there and they do what needs to be done. So if you want to step out into the limelight, you want to get into public life, your life will no longer be your own, but you will be doing plenty of good to bring about a change in people's lives. So don't be afraid to go there.
That's very true. I think that fear might have stopped a lot of people from becoming who they really want to be in life.
Mm.
So I think it's totally right. You need to face your fears, and even if you still feel the fear, just go for it.
Go
And
for
as you,
it.
yeah, and as you said before in this interview, you said that no matter what you want to do, it's if you think it's not, it's just going to be smooth sailing, that's the first step to failure. Have to know that there's going to be obstacles and it might be a bumpy road. So could you explain to us the hard work, maybe the sacrifice, all it took for you to become who you are today?
Um, Part of the sacrifice for me was not, first of all, I had to acknowledge that at the time when I was younger, I didn't know who I was. I had no self-definition at the time. I had to walk a journey that enabled me to find myself. I had to walk a journey that required of me to find people who had gone ahead of me, who knew what they were doing, and to walk with those people so that they could guide me. Um, I was on a path that I thought perhaps was the right path. I tell you, when I tell people I thought I was going to be an agriculturist, they laugh like, "Eh, you agriculturist? Really? I don't even see you in that picture." And I always say that's actually the reality. So for me, I felt strongly at the time when I started a journey of self-discovery that I had to make a sacrifice to let go of that dream that I realized along the line wasn't mine. I had to let go of it and then explore, allow myself to fall into what was about to happen. So if you're watching this and you have a vision in your head of what you want to do, but along the line you discover that it's not working out and it may not be what you should be doing, but you are worried because maybe people already know you for that thing, you have to be very clear in your mind if that's what you really want to do or if that's what you should be doing. And if your answer is categorically no, never mind what people say, never mind what people think. You need to let it go. Make that sacrifice because I can guarantee you it will be a sacrifice worth making for the long term goal. I always think about when Jesus came to die on the cross for us. That was a huge sacrifice. But what was the goal? To save us from the world, save us from our sins, and to give us the opportunity to have eternal life. So he came knowing what the sacrifice was. He still came and he gave himself. So knowing what your sacrifice will have to be, but you know that there's a long-term goal that will benefit not just yourself, but people around you, take the plunge and let go. And that's what I did. I had to let go of a lot of things that I thought I knew of myself, a lot of things that I thought was already good about myself. I had to let go of self-consciousness. You know, that thing where you think you know yourself so well and you're conscious and you know what you're good at. You know you're good at this stuff, right? But then somebody who is mentoring you comes and says, that thing is nonsense. You need to let it go. And you're thinking, come, who do you think you are? Because I asked you to mentor me. That's pride. That's pride. So you need to let that go. And it's a sacrifice you have to, if it's a sacrifice you have to make, then do it because it's something that will work for you on the long run. Another sacrifice I had to make was when I left Nigeria and came to Ireland. It was a huge sacrifice because it felt like leaving certainty for uncertainty. You know, you're like, what is going to happen? I'm taking this bold step, for a new future. What is it going to be like? So, and today the rest is history. So you might have to give up on what you already have. But if you know that there's something better that lies ahead, even if you're not sure what that is, but you know something better lies ahead, take the plunge. Now, let me sound a note of warning. When you take that plunge, make sure you surround yourself with people who can catch you when you fall. Don't be too proud to want to walk the journey alone. There are people who know better than you. There are so many people who guided me on my life's journey, who knew better than I know, who I knew at the time. And some of them I'm older than them, but I was older than them, but I wasn't ashamed to say, do you know what? I need your help in this regard because they knew better than I did. So don't be ashamed to ask for help. I come from the west of Nigeria, and there's a saying in that part of Nigeria that a person, a person who asks for directions will never miss the way. you'll never miss your destination. So don't be afraid to ask anybody for help. The bottom line is that they've got what you want, make sure you get it off them, you know? So sacrifice your pride. I'm not saying don't be proud of what you achieved. That's a different thing. But pride in itself is a pathway to disaster, a pathway to failure. So they say it goes before a fall. Don't let pride get the better of you in whatever it is that you're doing. Um, be ready also to support people along the way as you go. As you learn, share with them. You may not have much, but you'll need to make a little sacrifice yourself for others to learn as you go. It could be financial, it could be personal, it could be whatever, you know. As you get, you give a little. You get, you give a little. You know why? Because this life is too short. Nobody knows how long they're going to live on earth. And the only thing that is recorded for you as you leave is what you do in the immediate. We're having this conversation now. I don't know whether when we finish this conversation, anything's going to happen. I don't know, you know? So the only thing that will be recorded is what I've done up till this point when we're having this conversation. So take every opportunity to do good, to do good. It doesn't take anything off you. It adds value to you. And a big sacrifice that I had to make as well was to let go of some people who I thought were friends, but who I discovered were not good for me on my life's journey. It was painful. It was hard. I thought that we were going to be friends forever. I thought the world will end without them in my life. But I realized that they weren't meant to be a part of my journey, you know? So you need to go back on the drawing board, check your friends list. What are they doing there? What value are they adding to you? And what value are you adding to them since you've been on that journey together as friends? Even you can't get rid of family members, really and truly, but you can evaluate your relationship with them, you know? So evaluate your relationship, see what value your family members add to you, see what value you add to them as well, and make sure that you bring something to the table all the time. Don't be the one who's always taking, taking, taking. You should be able to give as well, you know? So you're adding value to people, and it's adding value is like an investment. You're going to reap the dividend. Maybe not now, but in years to come. I am reaping so much of the dividend of the investments that I have put in people's lives. I am reaping so much of it now, and I am thankful. I didn't know at the time it will be dividend to be reaped later on in future, to be gotten back. I didn't know that, but I'm sharing this from experience. So don't be afraid to give a portion of you to people, a part of you to people as an investment. That's some sacrifice you'll have to make as well.
Yeah, there's just a few things you're saying that really caught my attention. Like when you're saying that how you shouldn't let your pride get the best of you, because they do say that love is blinding, but I also think that pride is also blinding, and you never know that sometimes when you're too proud, you don't ask for help, and then you miss the way. And also when you were saying that because I also think that one of man's biggest fear is a fear of uncertainty. Sometimes we want to stay in our comfort zone, and we don't want to go to where we don't know. And I think I always tell myself, can I let go of the great to get the greater, even though I don't know how much greater the greater really is. And I think sometimes we need to let go of the fear of uncertainty and just move with what we're supposed to go. And I think that's amazing. And then what you're also saying about the people who you surround yourself with, when you let yourself fall, you need to know that there's some people down there to catch you. And I also know that probably there's some people in my life who I think right now will be with me forever, but I don't know. And I think that we need to know, if we want to fly high, we need to let go of the weights that are weighing us down. So I think that's very important. And if you want to achieve something, you need to know that you're going to need to sacrifice some things in life. So I think the things you said were very important. And I remember when you were saying that there was a point where you just let yourself explore what you wanted to do in life. And where you are now, I'm just wondering, has there ever been a shed of doubt in you saying, oh, I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to be? Or is it the thing where you say, I cannot live without doing this thing?
Oh, well, I would answer the first one. I've had times in my life when I've questioned where I was and asked, is this where I'm supposed to be? So many times, you know, is this where I'm supposed to be? And the easy way at those times to answer the question is, I ask myself, how am I feeling about where I am right now? How am I feeling about it? Am I proud of it? Or am I satisfied enough with it? Or is it adding any value to my life or to anybody's life? You see, you would hear me repeatedly say value, value, because it's key to living a fulfilling and purposeful life. You know, one of my values, top on my value list, is integrity. Everything I do, I always say to people, my name is a brand, and that's what I sell. And so I have to maintain integrity in everything that I do. So integrity guides my decisions. If somebody says, Yemi, we want you to get involved in this, if it's something that is going to be tarnishing to my image, I don't touch it. So that's how value guides you. You know, consistency is top on the list of my values. Whatever it is that I'm doing and I know to do well, I do it consistently, repeatedly, over and over and over again. That's how experts are made. That's how gurus are born. They say gurus are born, but then that's how they become gurus, because they do what they know over and over and over and over and over again until they become experts at it. Some people attempt to be jack of all trade and want to be master of all. No, it doesn't work that way. You can be master of some and then have an idea about the others, but you need to focus. You should be able to, yes, maybe say something about everything a little bit, but be really, really the guru in certain areas. And when you choose what area you want to become the guru in, that's your focus. You know, that's what you know you're really good at. That's what you should be consistently hammering on until people say, have you seen amazing Jessy on the summer splash? My God, that girl is a guru. Why? Because you would have done it over and over and over again, and people will know you for it. Yeah, people will know you for it. So I have in times past found myself doing stuff that I've questioned. Should I be here? Should I be doing this? I'll give you an example. So in my second book, I have two books. The first book is called The Power of Thank You, Developing an Attitude of Gratitude. That I'd written when I was 45. And I wanted to say thank you to 45 people who had helped me on my life's journey at the time. And it wasn't actually meant to be a book. It was just meant to be something I wrote and I wanted to post on Facebook. And I started to post them. But I discovered along the way that I just started getting inspirational words and I started to write them. I write a lot. I have you know, like folders, diaries beside my bed, and I just, when I can wake up in the middle of the night, something comes to me, I just scribble it down. I always say that the faintest ink is better than the sharpest memory. We're having this conversation. In 2 weeks' time, if somebody asks you, what did Yemi say? What did Counselor Yemi say? You'll be like, oh, she was so great. I mean, I think she said something about, I think you might not remember everything word for word. But if somebody writes something down, they can refer to it. Oh, I remember she said this. There's a reference, you know? So I always encourage people to write stuff down. So I was writing those things down, and that's how the book evolved. And then the second book, which is the Exploring Options book. In that book, the Exploring Options book, I talk about my life's journey where I found myself doing many things I had no business doing. For example, I went to school and I did secretariat studies. Now, when I tell people, oh, you know, I learned to be a secretary, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Why? Because nobody guided me and told me, do you know what you should be studying? This is what you should be studying. So I spent 2 years in secretariat studies. And then I went back again and I did accountancy. And then I went back again when I started working in the media and I did mass communication. Prior to those years, I'd spent the good part of almost 2 years in nursing school.
Wow.
I'm telling you, see, just doing stuff I had no business doing. Why? Because there was nobody telling me, guiding me. And that's why I so love the Exploring Options project, where we work with young people and we tell them, what are you good at already? Don't waste your years. I've been there. Don't waste your years. I spent the good part of almost 12 years doing nothing, things I had no business. Now, do I have regrets? No, because those things really help me a lot now in my life, right? So, I mean, like, I can do my own stuff. I could have learned them now still, but they came in handy earlier enough in life, you know? So I have questioned where I was at many times. When I was in nursing school, I questioned it. Why am I here? What's my business here? I have no business being a nurse. I need to get out of here, but I finished it anyway. And then when I was doing secretarial studies, I was like, what in God's name is this? Why am I here? And the only reason I went in there was because I needed to get into college, and I didn't have I didn't find my name on the list. Now I'd started secretarial studies, and it was, I think, 4 months down the line before I found my name on the list of the course I'd actually applied for. But it was 4 months gone and I'm like, what, you know what, I'll just finish this and I'll go back again next year. So those are the kind of things that happen in life that make you question where you're at. Question everything. Question everything. When you question what you're doing, you get an answer. And then you get clarity. You get clarity. If it's not meant to be for you, you will know, because you're going to question it. If I didn't question those things, I probably would be a nurse now, And really, I don't see myself as a nurse now. I actually don't see myself as a nurse. Some people have a vision of being nurses from the day they were born. And I think nurses are incredible. I mean, look at our lives now. The frontline workers, they're the reason, a lot of them are the reasons we're still here, because they've done such an incredible job, But everyone has their calling. So question everything until you get clarity. And as you question, ensure that you go to people who have gone ahead of you, who have experience, who have expertise, who know what they are doing. Be very mindful who you talk to, but find people who know what they're doing. Let their life tell you that they know what they're doing, and let them guide you as well. And please God, you will find your destination. You will find your promised land.
Yeah, I like the thing you said about questioning what you're doing right now, because there might be a lot of people out there living a life where they're happy, but when they say you never know what you have until you lose it, but it's also the same thing where you never know what you're missing until you have it. Mm-hmm. So I think that in order to know what we're supposed to do in life, we need to question what we're doing already. And I think that's very, very important. And I also think the book you have about you said thank you to 45 people.
Yes.
And I think something people miss is saying thank you. Sometimes those two words mean a lot more than a lot of what you could ever say. So I think sometimes people just forget to be grateful for the people who have come into their lives and added something to their lives. So I think that is very important. And as you said, did you say you had 2 books?
Yes.
Yeah, I also have 2 books. Well, 3. Yeah, they're behind me right now.
Very good.
Parents, and then an animation book. And I also keep a diary beside my bed. Sometimes I just
I like love you write. Already, my dear. I love you already.
You remind me a lot about myself. I sometimes in the middle of the night, I just like to write in my diary just something, and honestly, it makes me feel something that I just love it. So very I think good. It's good to write and just to keep something that you can still have and look back on.
Absolutely. And even just to wrap up on that, on the writing thing, do you know they say that the grave is the richest place in the world? There are a lot of people who have died taking with them the idea or the knowledge that they had, and they didn't share it with the world. So that's why I always encourage people, put something down on paper. It doesn't matter what it is, so long as it's going to transform somebody's life and make a difference. I have 7 books that I have written, I haven't published. They're just waiting to be published. And I know that there are things I want to share. There are things that I have put down on paper and I want to share with the world, in addition to the 2 that I have published. So everyone has the potential to be a writer. And there's something you have that you carry that the world has to hear about. So put it down on paper. You may not be the one to edit it. Find somebody who knows how to proofread and edit, and let them do it for you, and then publish. It's as simple as that. Yep.
And another question, because
yes, my dear.
You said you were a Christian. And
yes, I am.
I'm wondering, has there ever been a time that you would have to compromise maybe your beliefs as a Christian because you're a counselor? Or do you think you're a person who said, I will stand by what I believe? Or do you need to follow something?
Okay. Have I ever had to compromise? No.
Yeah.
And I will never compromise. Remember what I said to you about values, and that one of my values is integrity. It guides me to never compromise. Have I been asked to do stuff that would have meant that I will compromise? Oh, yes, many times, many times. People have attacked me a lot on social media, even on, especially on Twitter. That how can you talk about God in politics, in Irish politics? Nobody talks about God in Irish politics. There's no place for God here. And I always say, listen, me being a Christian is not a definition of the kind of, is not a definition of being a politician. I am first a person before I am a politician. And I do have a life before I am a politician. And so my personal life, which by the way, is for me an impactful one, does not have to change because I am a politician. As a matter of fact, my personal life can enhance the work that I do as a politician. And so if people are challenged by that because they feel terrible by what the priests had done years ago, for which reason people are angry at God in Ireland, that's understandable, but it's not a reason to decide that people should never talk about God again. And people have asked me sometimes, but why do you still talk about God? Why are you bold enough? I've made one thing clear. I'm never going to stop talking about God, because as far as I'm concerned, God has been the guide for my life up to this stage, and he will continue to be. So I remember one occasion somebody had said to me, but don't you get worried that people might say, well, what kind of politician is she? She's talking about God all the time. And my answer straight up was, here we were in Africa, my forefathers and their fathers before them, there they were sitting pretty. And the white man came and said, you know that idol you're worshiping, that's not God. There's a certain God that is better than that idol you're worshiping. And his name is Jesus. And his father is called God Almighty. And so put your idol aside and worship God, this God. And the people accepted this God, and they've worshipped this God wholeheartedly. And then years down the line, I come to Ireland, a place where the Irish missionaries had come to Africa, to Nigeria, to build the people through education and through religious beliefs. And then I come to Ireland and they're telling me, you can't worship that God anymore that we told you about or told your forefathers about. No, 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 no. We accepted that God. We love that God. That God has been good. So I am the dividend of your investment in Africa for God. And I'm coming back with that dividend. So you're going to enjoy the dividend of your investment. The fact of the matter is, something went wrong. It's not the end of the world. We can fix it. And we focus on the problem. The problem was the priests, not God. I know that people get upset and say, but they're priests who worked for God. But we must remember that they are first human beings. They are people. They're individuals with blood flowing through their vein. And to err is human. So they messed up. They messed up and they embarrassed God. That's the truth of it. Even God himself was not proud of what they did. They messed up. So we must remember that what they did does not change God. It doesn't stop God from being a good God. It doesn't change God from being a good God. And that's why I will always still talk about God, in everything that I do. And I will not compromise. I will not compromise in anything that I do. If it's the last thing, I will keep doing it. I will never compromise.
Yeah, I think that's very true, because I think we should all as Christians stand by God no matter what, because God has made us who we are today and who we're always going to be. And I just don't think that they say that with God all things are possible, and that we should not rely on men for anything. We should always rely on God. So I think we should always put our trust in God and stand with God no matter what. So I think that's very amazing. And the last thing for today, because it's been an hour, but I could stay with you for a long time because you're just very, very interesting.
And I could stay with you, same, my dear.
Thank you very much. The last thing I want to ask you to do is there one word of encouragement you could just say to the young people of this generation for anything they want to do in life, something that you stand by, something that you believe will help them?
Well, one word: possibilities. You are possible. You are very possible. If anybody tells you you're not good at something, actually, You show them that they're so wrong. Have you ever met a stubborn child who, when the parents say, don't do that, they keep doing it. And they're looking at the parent and they're looking straight at that parent and they say, stop banging that thing. And they look at the parent, they keep banging and waiting for the parent to do, you know? When people are saying you're terrible at something now, and you know you're good at it now, there's a difference between when people say you're terrible at something and you're actually terrible at that thing. Don't kid yourself, be realistic, right? But if you're really good at something and you have a desire and you have people guiding you and you know that you're going to make an impact with that thing and people try to pull you down, I said this before and I'll say it again. Your best revenge is to succeed doing that. So how do you succeed? Do not do fluffy stuff. Don't fall into the trap of people who do fluffy stuff. Oh yes, I'm going to be a singer, and then you just pick up the mic and you start singing. If you want to be a great singer, go and do vocal lessons, learn how to sing properly, train your voice, learn music. How do they do it to succeed? Do everything it takes to succeed so that when the chips are down, you've done all there is to do and you're a huge success in that regard. So you are very possible. If I, like some young girl said to me, if I, a grandmother, a glam mother, can make history in this country, you have no excuse. There's no reason why you can't. Plus, there are people who have gone ahead of you, who have done well, and who have also failed, but have succeeded subsequently. Don't be afraid to ask them, and don't be ashamed to ask them, and don't be too proud to ask them for help. You know, let them guide you so that you don't make the mistakes they made. The mistakes they've made and that you shouldn't be repeating. Learn from their mistakes so that you can fly even quicker than they did. You get there quicker than it took them to get there. But always remember, have it at the back of your mind. You are possible. If you can think it, you can achieve it. So don't let anybody stop you. The only thing that can hold you back is yourself. You will be afraid. Make no mistakes. You will be afraid. You will question yourself and second guess yourself many times. That's okay. I do that as well. You know, why do you do that? Because you're human. But do that and then move beyond that and do it anyway. And don't let anybody see your fear. When you succeed, they will ask you, were you not afraid? Then you can say, I was actually afraid, but I had to jump anyway, you know.
Yeah, I think you are just evidence that you are possible and that you shouldn't let anything stop you, and that if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And I think you're also right about the thing saying if you want to do something, don't just do it and let people know that you are actually doing something. Don't do anything just fluffy. Do something to your best ability. And I think that's something that all the young people in the world, everybody needs to know. So thank you very much for sharing this with all of us. Thank you very much for just coming on my show today. I am forever grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to finish by saying my motto in life is what is worth doing is worth doing well. Put your heart to it. When you get into it, put your heart to it. And when you meet people, I have a goal. One goal that encapsulates every single goal for me is that when people meet me, they leave me feeling better than when they first met me. I always say I am an encounter. You know, I don't do meetings, I do encounter. When you meet me, you allow yourself to get to know me, you will have an encounter. Make yourself an encounter. Let your attitude bring about a change in people's lives. Don't be that person who, when people meet you and they're gone, they'll be like, oh my God, I feel terrible. Every time I see her, I just feel bad because, you know, she carries so much negative energy. Don't be negative energy. Be positive energy that people want to come to you all the time. You'll be happier.
Well, that's so true. And thank you. I just want to say thank you again for coming on to us today. And all of the viewers out there, remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to see a lot of amazing people like this next week when we're continuing Amazing Jessy Summer Flash. So remember to subscribe to Amazing Jessy Show. And if you need any advice in life, any encouragement, I can say you should go to this amazing woman here, because just in this hour, she's taught me so much. So thank you very, very much. I can't wait to see you guys next week to continue Amazing Jessy Summer Flash. Bye, everyone.